Hey, this topic that I'm covering is kind of crazy, because we'll be talking a little bit about aliens, and I'm going to go over a little bit over the stuff that we just did here in the last 3 weeks and try and pull everything together a little bit. But, this is the introduction that I want to make. Everybody that came to church this morning, whether you are a member of this church or whether you walked in here for the first time, every single person here has issues in their life. Every single person has difficulties. Every single person has stuff that they are struggling with. Every single person needs God on some level or another. Every single person is coming to God because they need some help with something, And spiritual life is something that we need to understand and explain and learn about and apply in our lives. Because everything that happens to you, what I've been teaching over the last 3 weeks, everything that happens to you in your life is not necessarily an accident. There are two powers in this world, and they are invisible. You don't see them, you don't hear them, you don't feel them, you can't smell them, you can hear them, but they are here. It's a world of spiritual beings. It's a world of spiritual fight. It's a world that we are a part of, and yet we don't see it. It's a world that is right underneath our feet, and we never even think about it. We see the material things. We see the buildings, and we see the things that our hands can make. We see the mountains, and we see the sun, and all of those things. But we do not see spiritual forces that are out there which have tremendous impact and effect on our lives. We just don't see them, and we don't think of them often enough in relationship to the problems that we are dealing with. Sometimes we think these are just the problems that I have. So what I've been trying to tell you here in the last 4 weeks is that everything that happens to you, especially bad stuff, it's initiated, it's done on purpose, it's planned, it's organized, it's designed specifically for you. For you. And there is only one purpose in all of this, and that is to either separate you completely from a relationship with God, or get you to not believe that God even exists, or just get you to just give up on God altogether. But the bottom line is that whatever is going on, the purpose of it is for you to lose the connection with our Father in heaven, with God. That's the purpose of it. And there are many, many thousands of ways in which this is accomplished in this world. So, we talked about ancient religions, we talked about pagan religions, we talked about Nephilim, we talked about all kinds of things. We even covered there in one of the sermons, and you can find these on YouTube, about whether or not Jesus was real. And there is a real attack on the divinity of Jesus. There is a real attack on the historicity of Jesus, whether he was a real historical person or not. So you can go back and see some of those. But today I want to talk about this final deception that I think is going to take place on this planet just before Jesus comes. I asked Jasmina to do some research for me, and she came up with something interesting. She gave me a list of 7 politicians and what do they think about aliens. And I know that, we don't preach about these things in churches, aliens and extraterrestrials and all of that stuff. We just don't do that. Most people just discount it. But I want to talk a little bit about that today, and then see if any of this makes sense to you as we go through this. So, Bill Clinton said that he would not be surprised if aliens visited the earth, but he also claimed that there was no aliens at the Area 51. And those of you who follow this kind of stuff, you know what Area 51 is. John Podesta, who was Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign advisor, he thought that it was a good idea to disclose UFOs and what the United States government knows about it. And he, in one of his speeches in 2007, he said, it's time to find out what the truth really is out there. So we have politicians who are saying, yeah, let's go take a look at this. So President Obama, he didn't really say anything about it other than he made some kind of a joke about Area 51 and didn't really give it any credibility, so he was not very revealing on this whole thing. Ronald Reagan, obviously he gave all kinds of speeches at the UN. One time he talked about the aliens, and President Reagan has said some kind of the kookiest things about aliens on record. In a speech to the United Nations in 1987, he said an alien invasion would unify the world. So obviously, people are saying, well, he was just making a point. But this is just a little bit of what some of these politicians are saying. Former governor of Arizona, Mr. Sumington, has not only publicly shared his belief in aliens, but also claimed to have been part of an encounter. Denis Kucinich, he was a presidential contender in 2007 debate. He was asked about a question about his alleged UFO sighting some years back, and the senator immediately took the opportunity to insert a nice little zinger about George Bush, who was running for re-election at the time. He used it, but he was also claiming that he did have a UFO encounter. And he said, more people in this country have seen UFOs than I think approve of George Bush's presidency. So he was, making fun of Bush at the time, but at the same time he was claiming that he had an encounter with the aliens. So this is something that has been a part of the American underculture, this thing about aliens. 51, Roswell, what has happened. Aliens have come, they're here, they're amongst us. There is all kinds of theories, thousands of different theories on who the aliens are. One is that aliens came to this earth thousands or millions of years ago, and they were the ones who actually put life on this planet, and they just allowed it to evolve, and here we are today. So this is one of those theories that has been in the background for many, many years. Edward Snowden, who was a big, he told us a lot about what the government was doing behind our backs, and he gave reasons why we really don't know about aliens like we should know. And he gave 5 reasons. One of them was that only a small window in the technological development is available when we would be able to decipher alien signals. Snowden said that for the most part we would never recognize alien signals because of encryption. He also revealed in the WikiLeaks that Iran claimed leaked Snowden documents showed that the U.S. was run by aliens. Sometimes I wonder if that's true. As a matter of fact, I think sometimes that maybe the things that our government does is really weird, but maybe they do talk to some kind of crazy aliens. Anyways, number 4, leaked Snowden documents did show the government will use alien conspiracies to distract people from real secrets. That's a very legitimate point. I think sometimes government uses these kinds of stories to really distract us from, we just passed the 1.1 trillion spending bill. This is a country right now, this moment, is $19 trillion in a hole. And we have just spent a bill, signed a bill that we are going to spend another $1.8 trillion, really, money that we don't have. So all of a sudden, obviously, they don't want us to focus on that kind of stuff, so maybe they'll tell us something about aliens. I don't know. Researchers are also looking into a series of strange radio signals as a possible communication with the aliens. These stories have been around. In Revelation 12:7 says, and it says the following, and I used this verse before. This is now coming from the Bible. The war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. The dragon, obviously Satan or Lucifer or the devil. And the dragon and his angels fought back, but he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. You have all heard this verse, right? When Satan lost the battle in heaven against God and his forces, where was he sent? To the earth. Today in our society, if somebody does something bad, we put them in jail, right? They have to go to jail. This was a spiritual battle the war broke out in heaven. Michael, that's Jesus, he fought against Satan, and Satan lost his place in heaven. And in Revelation 12:9, it says, the great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil. See, now it is naming him, called the devil, or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him. So the Bible teaches that Satan was placed on this earth. This was his prison. This was his jail. It also tells us, I want you to learn from these verses. It also tells us that Satan is the one who leads the whole world astray. It means that he's feeding us a bunch of lies and wanting us to not understand the true nature of God, and wanting us not to have a relationship with God, and wanting us to depend on our own wisdom and strength and ability to solve our own problems, because he wants to separate us from being in a partnership with God. If you are in a partnership with God, then you can do things that otherwise you could not do. You follow me? I mean, I'll just give you a stupid example. In the news, everybody has seen Donald Trump, right? He is running for the president. And when he was younger, he entered into a partnership with a bunch of big banks. They gave him money, and he built an empire. So, if you enter into a partnership with a big bank and they give you $1 million, you can go out there and you can do a lot more than if you get the job at McDonald's flipping burgers. You see, you can do a lot more. You can accomplish a lot more. Why? Not because all of a sudden you can do more in an 8-hour period, but because you have partnered yourself with somebody who is much more powerful and much more resourceful than you are. So if you partner with God, you can do a lot of things in your life that otherwise you couldn't do. So the Bible tells us that Satan not only went to war with God, but that he tried to, and what he is doing is he's leading the whole world astray. And I would like to suggest that not only was he leading this planet astray, but also the angels in heaven. You remember the third of the angels. That's 33%. They bought into his theories about God, and they took his side. So he led them astray again from being in a relationship or a partnership with God. So throughout this whole series, this is not about sensationalism here. This is about spiritual, practical application of spiritual truths. That's what this series is about, Because I really don't care to figure out if it's really the aliens or what it is. It's a deception. It's a deception. So let's go further. Genesis 1:27. I'm going through a chronology here so we understand exactly what we are talking about. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. Remember this, right? Now Satan is already here. We had a war in heaven. Satan is on this planet. God comes along and he creates a mankind, man and the woman, in his own image. God blessed them and said to them, and this is a key text, God said to them, be fruitful and multiply in number, fill the earth, and do what with it? So what does that word subdue mean? Take control of it. Rule it. It's yours. I'm giving it to you. That's what God told to the human beings. Now, Satan is already here. He's already here. And his angels, fallen angels, are also here. We don't know how many. Maybe millions, maybe trillions. We don't know. We just don't know. The Bible doesn't say. It said 1/3. It could have been trillions. Spiritual beings already on this planet. They are far more capable than any human being is. They are far more smarter, far more intelligent, far more everything. Because they were angels. We are human beings, you see. And yet God says to the human beings, you fill the earth, it's yours. I'm giving it to you. If you have 2 kids in your family, and one is very smart and intelligent and really go-getter, and the other one is just average, maybe on the slow side. I'm just giving a crazy example. And you own a nice big business, that you want to give to your kids. You have two. One is super smart and the other one is But the one that's super smart, he doesn't mind you, doesn't pay attention to you, gets into arguments with you. And one day when the time comes to pass on the business to them, you say, you know what? I'm going to give everything to the slow one. Because this one really gets on my nerves. How would he feel? How would this one, what would he say? He would say to you, Dad, Mom, are you nuts? My brother, he can't even pass the 5th grade, and you give him the whole business to run? Just an example of what happened here. I mean, we're talking about the whole planet. God creates human beings, Adam and Eve. And not only that, but after they have sinned, God still is leaving them in charge of the planet. He's not giving it to Satan. He's not giving it to Lucifer. He's giving it to human beings. This planet, I've been telling you this for a long time, belongs to you. To you, the Arvada church members, attendees, us. This planet belongs to us. It does not belong to Satan. It's ours. God blessed them and said to them, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground. That's what God said. And then obviously the man failed, right? The man sinned, and you remember how that whole thing ended. We jump over to Genesis chapter 3. So the Lord God said to the serpent or the dragon or the Satan or the devil, because you have done this, cursed are you above all the livestock and all the wild animals. You will crawl on your belly and you will eat dust all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and the woman and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head and you will strike his heel. This is a reference to Jesus Christ fighting against Satan. So God says, I'm putting animosity, enmity between Satan and his horde of demons and the human beings. So all of a sudden, God has decided to throw us into a ring to fight Satan and his demons. And Satan and his demons, as I have already said, are far more capable and smarter than we are. We, by any logical reasoning, by any measurement, we should not be able to win that fight. We are definitely an underdog. We are definitely an underdog. As I watched an interview with the general of the I think one of the army guys, and he said they asked him about the policy of the United States military, and at one point I kind of listened because he says we are not interested in a fair fight. And I said, okay, what's he going to say now? And he says, we are not interested in a fair fight. We want odds to be so much in our favor that when we go into the war with some country, whether it's Iran or whatever, we want to know that we are capable to totally destroy our opponent. He says, we're not interested in a fair fight. Because in a fair fight, you never know how is it going to end, right? You can win, you can lose. He says, no, we want to put the odds so much in our favor, overwhelming odds, that when we go in, we're going to definitely win. And this is the policy of the American military, for example. If we're going to go to war, we're going to only go when we are absolutely ready to win. Satan has strategic, intellectual power that we do not have, advantage over us. If he goes to war against us, you and me, the odds are overwhelming that we are going to lose, you and I. And yet God said to us to subdue it. God said to us to overcome Satan and his temptations. God said to us also that he will be on our side in that fight. And if he's on your side, then all of a sudden the odds change exponentially. One moment you were here, had no chance, you were a total underdog. I mean, you were just lost. And then when God stands on your side, your power and your strength is so overwhelming that Satan does not have a chance. Doesn't have a chance. And that's why what he wants to do is disrupt your communication with God. That's what he wants to do. Because he knows that the moment you call on the Lord, like Daniel did, you remember that from the last sermon, angel was sent to his aid immediately. So Satan wants to do everything in your life. So I just want you to think about this. What are some of the things in your life today that are preventing you from having an honest, genuine, humble talk with the Lord? What are some of the things in your life that take away your attention from your relationship with Jesus? They can be a myriad of things. Obviously, material stuff gets in the way. Commercialism gets in the way, like Cheryl mentioned, this time of the year. We are living in the world where money, is God, and everybody is after it. So sometimes that can get in the way. Sometimes we have other problems in our life. Health and family and relationships and kids and this and that. And stuff just keeps coming, and you lose the track of the Lord, and you lose the time when you should be praying and talking to Him, and pretty soon you find yourself in the dark place where you don't want to be. Satan is happy at that point. He's happy. God gave humans the planet. Satan and Lucifer, he wants it. So as soon as he decided that he wanted it, he started introducing all kinds of lies into the human experience. And we talked about the pagan religions, right? We talked about all of those lies where people started believing into all kinds of other demons. They literally worship demons during that period of time. Let's see. Pagan religions, we talked about the Nephilim. These were the people that were the product of demons and human beings. You remember that? That was a very interesting thing. And then also Satan made an all-out attack on Jesus, on the personality of Jesus, and on the historical fact of whether Jesus was real or not. And today, you have a lot of people today who do not believe necessarily that Jesus was real. And we went and did a whole sermon on that topic too. I'm just recapping here a little bit. And then the thing on the Baals, I want to mention Baals again. Baal was what that name meant. That name meant the possessor of land and air. He had the control over regions. He had the lordship over men. And I explained for those of you who were not here for that explanation, I explained to you when Satan was thrown on this earth with his demons, with his fallen angels, I believe that they divided the earth into regions. And each one of them got to be in charge of a literal geographical area. And I believe that that's a fact because, look, Satan is a fallen angel. He's smart. If he's going to come here and if he's going to war against God, he's going to do it in an organized way. So I believe that every region of the world has demons who are in charge of that particular area. And we see that very clearly in the Old Testament when you start talking about Baals. They were worshiping different Baals or different lords of the different regions in the land of Canaan. You see, so I believe that still stands to this day. Satan wants to be in charge of this planet. He does not want the human beings to be in charge of this planet. In Jude 1:5-7, it says, "And the angels who did not keep their positions of authority, but abandoned their proper dwelling, these he has kept in darkness, bound with everlasting chains, for judgment on the great day." So they are here on this earth, chained up, waiting for the judgment. And what they want to do, they want to take as many with them as possible. They want to take you with them in that judgment day. They want to destroy your relationship with God. They want to prove to the whole universe that God is not just. You see? And that's what's going on in this world right now. The Bible also tells us, now we are getting back to the crux of this particular sermon in Mark 13:22. The Bible also tells us this: for false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. And this is a key text here. We are living in this time that this text was meant for. False messiahs and false prophets will come onto the scenes, and they'll perform miracles, and they'll perform wonders, so that they would deceive, if possible, even the elect. Deceive them in which way? Deceive them to stop believing in God. Deceive them to stop believing in the power of God. You see, the bottom line for these entities is to separate you from a relationship with God. So they want to find all kinds of ways to deceive you and to lead you astray from that. So what's been happening in this world today? I just find that it's interesting, some of the things that we see happening right now in the world. One more text, Isaiah 14:12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? Satan is a powerful entity. Now, look at this next slide. This is now coming. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the Catholic Church. You know, Catholic Church, a lot of us come from the Catholic Church. It is the most powerful church in the world. It is the richest church in the world. It is the longest existing Christian church on planet. It's been here for, 13, 14, 1500 years. It's a church that has tremendous amount of money and resources. Catholic Church has the largest private observatory for observation of the space and the planets. I mean, they have a whole number of world-renowned scientists on their payroll working in this particular department. And this is what's been coming out of the Catholic Church lately. And I just am wondering why, Catholic Herald says, Jesuit who says aliens have souls is named director of Vatican Observatory. Excuse me, what? Aliens have souls? So all of a sudden, if you were just, kind of going through life, and all of a sudden you would see on internet stuff like this. The father so-and-so says that aliens have souls. Why would they say that? I'm just wondering. The Jesuit who grew up in Detroit, Michigan, has said he would baptize an alien, but only if they asked. At the Science Festival in Birmingham, he said, any entity, no matter how many tentacles it has a soul. Last year, he was awarded the prestigious Carl Sagan Medal for his work in making scientific learning accessible to public. And this man, who is a famous scientist, he also has an asteroid named after him, 4597, Consomagno. I guess he's an Italian. Italians always had good scientists. Thanks to his work documenting the evolution of small bodies in the solar system. So this man is a genuine, bona fide scientist. He's not some dummy. He's not just some priest, who just wants to make a point. He's a scientist. He belongs to a Catholic church. He's a father. In other words, he is also a priest. And he's saying, if the aliens came around, if they showed up, I don't mind if we baptize them. Vatican chief astronomer believes in UFOs and aliens. There's the next slide. You can check all of this on your own. The Pope's chief astronomer, Father Jose Funes, has confirmed that the Vatican Observatory in Rome believes in life on other planets. Writing in the Vatican's daily newspaper, Dr. Funes said, our galaxy contains more than 100 billion stars. Considering the number of exoplanets discovered, it seems that the vast majority of stars in our galaxy, at least potentially, can have planets where life could develop. The discovery of the new planet, which is the newest one, planet Kepler 452b, revised the idea that contact and why not the encounter with extraterrestrial intelligent beings of an alien civilizations could happen in the near future. It is probable there was life and perhaps a form of intelligent life. I don't think we'll ever meet Mr. Spock, he continues, but there is intelligent life out there. Now, why is this a problem? Why is this a problem? If they are saying that there is a life on other planets, I believe that there is life. You know, what we in the Seventh-day Adventist Church believe, and I want to share this with some of you who are here for the first time and don't know this, we believe that there is life on many other planets where God has created life, but we also believe that people and beings that are on those planets never did sin. We believe that this is the only planet that was infected by the disease of sin. And that this is because the Bible says there, as soon as Satan rebelled against God, God put him on this earth. So in our theology, it is very disturbing to us to think that maybe sin is all over the universe. We believe that sin has been locally contained on this planet. So now these people are saying, there is Kepler, it is an Earth-like planet, it was discovered by Kepler Space Telescope, it's only 1,400 light years away, which is really not that far. The planet is believed to be rocky like Earth and orbits its star within the zone where liquid water may form on the surface. And you've been hearing these kind of stories about Mars too, right? There is water on Mars. If there is water, there is going to be bacteria. If there is bacteria, it means there is life. So if, for example, they find something on Mars that used to live there a long time ago and died, that means that sin also entered that planet. Because the Bible teaches us that death and dying is the result of sin. Adam and Eve, they could have lived forever had they not sinned. Once they sinned, God says you're going to die. And the only way out of that is through salvation by believing in Jesus Christ. You see, that's what the Bible teaches. That death and sickness and is just the result of sin. So if all of a sudden they are saying there is fossils out there on Mars, that means that something lived there and died. If it died, it means that there was sin there. If the sin is there, then where do we go from there? In a huge turnaround for the Catholic Church, Father Funes says that believing in aliens does not go against the Bible or Christian doctrine, as it still acknowledges the work of God in creating this other life. And then he says the Bible is not a scientific book. If we look for scientific responses to our questions in the Bible, we are making a mistake. So I think, my personal opinion is unfortunately that the Catholic Church has kind of put themselves above the Bible. I mean, that was done historically for a long, long time. The Bible was always put under the authority of the church, not the other way around, you see. And it's happening again today. During Mass on Monday, Francis also theorized about alien life forms and suggested that even Martians should be welcomed to be baptized as well. What the heck is going on out there? I mean, we laugh about this, but are there real aliens out there, or is something else out there? When I read the Bible and I see about all of these demons and fallen angels coming to this earth, I have to wonder who's talking to who. I know from my studies that there are people on this planet, and I'm not implicating Catholic Church now, don't say that I did, but I know there are people on this planet who do make a pact with Satan. The old saying, made a pact with the devil. I believe there are people out there like that, who do that. For personal gain, most of the time for personal gain and for fame and for power. We have heard stories about famous musicians and actors and whatnot, I believe there are people out there who do that. I believe that Satan is involved in the affairs of the human beings. I believe that Satan literally is behind all of the wars and poverty and misery that's going on in the world today. I believe that, again, this is my belief, not necessarily the belief of the Seventh-day Church, but I believe that Satan also is working with some of the world leaders to bring more misery and war and chaos to this world. I believe that, because no normal human being would do some of the things that are done by these leaders around the world. In Rwanda, they killed 500,000 people in like 4 days with machetes. They just cut them up. You know, and we see this kind of thing going on around the world all the time. If, for example, tomorrow an expedition of Martians came, and some of them came to us here, Martians, right, green, with that long nose and big ears, just like children paint them, and one says, but I want to be baptized, what would happen? Pope Francis remarked and told the audience that the baptism is open to everyone. So I'm wondering, the next slide, it says we're not alone, it says Vatican, Pope's chief astronomer. I'm wondering who's been talking to them. I'm wondering what is the largest Christian church in the world preparing us for. I'm just wondering. In a statement, slide number 34, in a statement released by the Vatican Tuesday morning, Pope Francis, who is scheduled to arrive in the United States on September 22nd, this is now a conspiracy theory, I don't believe that this is true, announced that he has been visited on 3 occasions by heavenly beings who most recently have warned of an impending crisis that could have dire consequences for life on this earth. In details surrounding the Vatican's extraterrestrial visitors are sparse, but the British military and intelligence officials, speaking on condition of anonymity because he was not authorized to discuss the situation, told the Guardian that the entities were described as peaceful by nature, but at the same time would not interfere with other entities if they were not peaceful in nature and they came here to do us harm on this planet. And I'm wondering what's going on here. The Vatican, the United States government, White House, people are talking about the aliens. The aliens are coming. The aliens are amongst us. The aliens are here. We have pictures, we have videos of people in Arizona in the middle of the night, Phoenix, Arizona. I don't have that video clip today, but somebody took a video, and there is definitely something in the sky that's not normal. It's not a helicopter. It's not an airplane. Same thing with Chicago. It happened. You can go on YouTube and look at it for yourself. Some people can say, oh, it's a Photoshop. No, it didn't look like a Photoshop. It looked like a real thing to me. So something is definitely out there. And all of these huge organizations, United Nations already talked about the disclosure on the UFOs and on the alien life. And I'm wondering if it's really the aliens or if it's something else, if it's something that we are already familiar with. Is it the fallen angels, the demons, who will try to deceive, if possible, even the elect ones? Let's see, what's the next? Pope also said in slide 42, he said, we don't know exactly what's going on, but in every case, I think that we should stick to what the scientists tell us, still aware that the Creator is infinitely greater than our knowledge. So basically, the official stand of the Catholic Church right now is there is alien life out there. We don't know what that really means. We believe that God is greater than all of that, and if those people need salvation, we'll save them too. And to me, all of that sounds very strange, to say the least. Could religion survive alien contact? Now we are getting into the interesting part. Could religion survive an alien contact? What would happen if one day you wake up and somebody says to you, aliens are here? And you turn on the CNN or Fox, whatever your preference is, or online news, and you sure do see interviews with these alien beings, and they are telling you, yeah, we were here all along, and We've been here for millions of years, and we know this planet good, and we are the ones that have put life. And this whole, and then they ask them about religion, Jesus, God, all of that stuff, and they say, well, that's just stories. That's not real. If something like that were to happen, if there was an alien invasion or revelation of some sort, how would that affect religions of the world? And there was a guy who actually wrote the book on this. Extraterrestrial life, how will we deal with it? And he considers if the religions of the world would have an easy or difficult time accepting the idea that we have aliens as our neighbors. And I'm going to give you a rundown of some of the major religions. Slide 46. Judaism seems to be about living your life on this earth, about building a relationship between oneself and God on earth. This is what Judaism teaches. And if God wants to make other creatures and other planets in the universe, that's up to God to do. Therefore, Judaism would not have a problem whatsoever with the aliens coming to light on this planet. So that's Judaism. So let's look at the next one. Unitarian Universalism, anything goes. They believe anything goes. If there is aliens, that's cool. Mormons absolutely believe in extraterrestrials. It is built into Mormonism. They would not have any issues with aliens coming to this earth. Islam, they've been a lot in the news lately, mostly negative. There are many pieces of text in the Quran that asserts in no uncertain terms that rational, intelligent beings exist in other worlds. So this author says, I think Islam would have absolutely no problem if the aliens came to this earth and showed themselves to us. And then you have more mystical Eastern religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, they would not have any problems with this whole concept either. I would put, he goes on to say, I would put most of the forms of Christianity on the other side of ones that would have some form of a problem. The more traditional, the more conservative, more fundamentalist of the Christian, Protestant, Catholic denominations would have problems depending on the denomination or the faith. Roman Catholicism would have some serious issues to deal with, but how serious the issues are would depend on which theologian you spoke to. I believe that Roman Catholic Church would have major problems with this, and that's why they're talking about this, because I think they're getting the wind that something big is going to happen. That's what I think. Now, everybody is going to say, well, what's the big thing that's going to happen? Is it possible that one day we will wake up and somebody is going to say to us, there are aliens, they are here. They are here. And all of the stuff that you guys believed in, goes out to the window. You can throw it out to the window. I think it's possible, because Satan is in the business of deceit, trying to deceive you. And I think that that's why the Catholic Church is going to all of these lengths to prepare Christianity, their own members, and also the others, for the possibility of something like this happening. And I just want to finish by looking at a couple of the Bible texts here that I want you to understand. Ephesians 6:12 says, for we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. If you don't know anything about the Bible, you need to know this verse. We do not wrestle or fight against other human beings. Our fight is not against flesh and blood. Our fight is against the rulers, not human rulers, against the authorities, not human authorities, against what? The cosmic, out of this world powers that are in charge over this present darkness. Our fight is against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. You may think that none of this affects you. I'm here to tell you that the problems you have in your life, issues that you're dealing with, everything that's in the background that nobody even knows about, is the result of an organized, systematic, custom-designed attack on you personally to separate you from the love of Jesus Christ and from a relationship with Jesus Christ. I don't care what it is. Maybe it's health issues. Maybe it's money issues. Maybe it's trust issues. Maybe it's anger in your heart. Maybe it's who knows what. You name it. Remember these words. Custom design. You are supposed to be the owner of this earth. And there is somebody who doesn't want you to be the owner of this earth. You are supposed to be in charge of your own destiny. You are supposed to be saved by the blood of Jesus Christ, by having faith in Him and by walking with Him on a daily basis. That's what it means to follow Jesus. And there is a power, a force, right there on the screen, heavenly, cosmic force that wants to separate you from having a relationship with God. And you know, we are living in a world where it's not going to take a lot for most of the planet to completely lose their belief and faith in God. You know, you get one of these UFO deals showing up, and all of a sudden there's going to be millions of people saying, see, you Christians are all nuts. You know, see, this is the real new age. We're living in a new age. All of this new knowledge is going to come to us. There is no God. There is no Jesus. Why do you even believe in that stuff? The Bible tells us that before the second coming of Jesus Christ, majority of the people are not going to believe. Very few are going to be saved. Very few. And that depends, whether or not you're saved, strictly depends on only one thing, whether or not you know Jesus. And you know Him only by communicating with Him, by walking with Him, by talking with Him. 2 Corinthians 11:14, and what I'm doing, I will continue to do in order to undermine the claim. This is Paul talking to the claim of those who would like to claim that in their boasted mission they work on the same terms as we do. And then he says, for such men are false apostles, deceitful workmen, disguising themselves as apostles of Christ. And no wonder, for even Satan, I want you to really digest this, even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. It is no surprise if his servants also disguise themselves as servants of righteousness. Their end will correspond to their deeds. Satan and his forces, both spiritual and human, are working to deceive you into walking away from your faith. That's what it's about. Just working hard to just deceive you into walking away from your relationship with Jesus Christ. The Bible tells us, and if those days had not been cut short, no human being would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short. Then if anyone says to you, look, here is the Christ, or there He is, do not believe it. This is a prophecy that says that the time is going to come when you're going to wake up and somebody is going to say, Jesus is here. Jesus is here. He just showed up. He's over here. He's in Westminster. Go see Him. That's what the Bible says. The last verse that I'm going to mention today is, for false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders, so as to lead astray, if possible, even the elect ones. False Christs and false prophets. So I think that one of the greatest deceptions of this last age is that one day somebody is going to start talking to us about aliens, about UFOs, about Messiah coming back to earth. in this big UFO ship, and all of a sudden they'll be telling us that we will have prosperity and peace and happiness, and things are going to change. Everything is going to be good. You don't need to believe in all of this stuff you believe in. Why do you go to church and believe in this Sabbath and give 10% of your money to this religion? This is where this is all going. Where are you going to be when that happens? For some people, they're listening to this and they're saying, wow, this is ridiculous. It's never going to happen. I want you to think about that again. Next time when you're watching the news, next time when you're surfing the internet, notice some of these things that I have been talking about here in this last series. Just notice it. Just see it for yourself. And last thing I want to say is this. Unless you know Jesus yourself, personally, you're going to lose your life. You're going to lose your eternal life. Just not going to happen. You're not going to heaven because of the theories that you know. You're not going to heaven because of the fact that you've been a church member for a long time. You're going to heaven only if you know Jesus personally. Do not let anything pull you away from your relationship with Jesus. Do not let anything pull you away. Do not let anything distract you from that. And if there is anything in your life right now that's pulling you away from God, put it aside. Because remember, without God, the odds are overwhelming that you are going to lose. With God, you cannot lose. So He needs to be on your side and you need to be on His side. God bless you. Thank you for being patient and coming back for this series. Two things. Next week we are having a Christmas program here. We are going to have Indonesian church join us.